Your advisor, Jared Kushner, has a new job on his long to-do list. The Washington Post reports that Mr. Kushner is now overseeing construction of the wall along the southern border. According to the Post, the president turned to him after growing frustrated with the lack of progress. Kushner is now pressing Customs and Border Protection and the Army Corps of Engineers to expedite the process of taking over private land needed for the wall. The administration has said it wants at least 450 miles built by election day. President Trump also tweeted this morning about building the wall, saying, quote, "It's going up fast, but is it? What's really happening on the ground?" MSNBC's Mariana Tencio went to the border in Arizona, where ranchers are faced with the possibility of the wall essentially going up in their own backyards here. What did they tell you about all of it?
So the ranchers, Craig, the ones we've spoke to, are divided about the wall, much like the rest of the country. And frankly, like you said, there's been so much rhetoric about the process of building and how much is being built that we said, you know what, we're going to get on the ground and see it for ourselves to show you at home what is the state of the president's wall. Let's watch. Rancher Kelly Kimbrough and her daughter Mackenzie have worked this remote land in southeast Arizona for their entire lives.
Those of us that live right here on the border and are closest in proximity to the border realize that the wall is not the best strategic solution. We personally as a family don't want it.
Would you say the neighbors are divided regarding the border wall?
Absolutely. This was put in as a vehicle barrier. It has served its purpose really well.
But the 2020 election is right around the corner. And the president has a campaign promise to keep.
It's not build that wall anymore. It's continue building that wall because we're building.
In October, the government broke ground here with a promise to replace nearly 19 miles of existing barriers with a border wall. Now, that includes nearly 4 miles on the Kimbrough property just down the road. Crews in Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Texas are racing to fulfill the president's goal of building 450 to 500 miles of border wall by the end of 2020. As of last week, 83 miles have been built, nearly all of it replacing existing barriers. Despite that fact, Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf argues it is all new wall being built.
You put up what's behind us, that's not replacement wall. That is a new wall. That is a new physical infrastructure. I don't agree with the assertion that we're simply replacing wall.
Wolf making those remarks during a tour of the first new barrier built where none previously existed under construction in Donna, Texas. Back in Douglas, Arizona, Kimbrough prefers the car barriers, but is working with the government, letting them lease her land during construction for a say in the process.
We will never say we wanted it, but that's where we turned around and we went and said, okay, if it's going to happen, then we're going to be involved.
Involved in the future of the wall for the next generation of ranchers.
Seeing a border wall fragment the landscape's a heartbreak, but I know that roots run deeper than politics, and my family heritage will outstand whatever issues we face here, and I'm excited to keep that legacy alive.
So these ranchers, Craig, they've already been told that contractors are going to be on their land projected until February 2021. So it remains to be seen whether the administration is really going to make this 2020 deadline.
What about the president's assertion that Mexico is going to pay for it?
Well, obviously that has not happened, and all eyes next year will be on Texas because that's where most of the new wall is going to go up. And there you have this whole issue with land disputes.
Right,
so
eminent domain.
A daunting task for Jared Kushner.
All right, Mariana Tencio, thank you for that fact check. Always appreciate you. Meanwhile, over the last few moments, a bit of...
Keep in mind, it was eminent domain that ruined thousands and thousands of lives up on a peninsula in between two rivers. Some of those people not only had to move once, some of those people not only had to move twice, but a bunch of those people had to move as many as 3 different times before finally being run completely off of that area, all in the name of eminent domain. Progression for man. And to this day, those people still have not been rightfully confiscated for what that they have suffered from TVA, that decided to disrupt people's life that way. And yes, America did pay the ultimate cost, because it was JFK that put out the last remaining order. Well, let's finish them up. We've wounded them on the Tennessee side. We've wounded them on the Cumberland side. Now let's go in for the final kill. And let's finish them up. And that's whenever he flew over that piece of property and declared it as a federal refuge or a park or whatever other type of lie that you would want to use towards running those people completely out of that area. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't have to be run out. They had already compromised on the first buyout. They'd already compromised on the Cumberland River buyout. They didn't have to be run completely out of the LBL area. And that's the story that has yet to be fully told to the American people pertaining to what actually happened in LBL, land between the lakes. In addition to the assassination of a president by the name of JFK. Thank you. Good luck to all of us. And for those that get a hold of this message, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays. Shalom.
The development here, an attorney for former National Security Advisor John Bolton is now reacting to that ruling involving former White House counsel Don McGahn. NBC's Hans Nichols is standing by for us at the White House. And Hans, full disclosure, I haven't had an opportunity to read the entire statement, but just based on the first few sentences, it would seem as if the assertion by Bolton's attorney is essentially this ruling doesn't really apply to my guy.
That's exactly right, Craig. You know, they've studied the McGahn ruling. This is attorneys for John Bolton and Charles Kupperman. And that attorney is basically saying it's not applicable and won't therefore compel their client, in this case, Kupperman. Kupperman is the stalking horse for Bolton. It won't compel either of them to testify. And they still look for a definitive ruling from the courts on their case. And what they've always said their case is about is conversations that either the National Security Advisor, the Deputy National Security Advisor, had with the President of the United States on foreign affairs and national security matters. You can almost see with this statement where it was going to come if you actually look closely at their initial letter, at the attorney's initial letter to when they were arguing the differences between the McGahn case and the Bolton and the Kupperman case. So they're saying it's not authoritative. I think that's the key quote there. And they are also insisting that they look for a final and binding verdict on their fact pattern, their case. So we've now heard from Mr. Cooper. He's the attorney. Carol Lee, my colleague, got this statement, put it in. We'll read the whole thing and see if we have any finer points of judicial finesse. But Craig, I think you got it at first cut. Guys.
All right. Hans Nichols for us there at the White House. Thank you, my friend. We also continue to follow this breaking news that is happening in Europe right now. Dramatic search for survivors continues in Albania. A powerful earthquake struck there overnight. The country's defense minister says so far at least 13 people have been killed. At least 600 people have been hurt. 6.4 magnitude quake brought down buildings, trapped an unknown number of people in the rubble there. But
once more, what does the Bible say? It says that whenever you shall see these signs start to occur pertaining to all these bad events, to know that we are at the doors, to know that we are at the end. The Bible says that all these things will be occurring because of the sin of man, because of the wickedness of mankind. All these things have already been pre-selected, preordained by God's only begotten Son towards warning people ahead of time towards what to expect. Pray for the people over in Albania, Albania, of the 6.4 earthquake that has recently struck just within the past few hours.
you can see that rescue effort underway right now. It is unfortunately a death toll that is expected to climb. The quake was centered just northwest of the capital of Tirana. European Union mobilized search and rescue teams to join Albanian first responders as well. 2020 Democratic presidential